We're going to be taking a look at compLexity up against DC, a couple of very well known teams, and a couple of somewhat unknown players. I'm joined by MotPax today. My name is Lyrical Dota, and give us a little rundown of who all we've got here.
Well, we've got a pretty exciting situation happening. We're gonna have a little bit of the old Stay Green boys from Han. I wasn't a big Han fan myself, never really watched the game or anything, but from what I understand, these guys, they just kind of dominate. And Hanskin, he used to be on the other team, so it looks like he'll be joining up with them. And you can see from Chessie's little icon there, aptly called the Han Trash, reloaded here for complexity gaming. So they're ready to roll. And then over on DC, the man of the hour, Mr. 1437, Theban, 1437, T-Ban, T-God, whatever name you prefer to get flamed for calling him today, you may use. But he will be standing in, at least that's what we were told in the lobby, for Digital Chaos. As in terms of official status, we have no idea.
Yeah,
But hey,
no real way to say a whole lot of anything in terms of what this is going to mean going forward until some official statements are released. But of course, 1437 coming on over from that Cloud9 squad, at least to come on in and stand in for this game. So should be an exciting one. Curious to see how they gel. Curious to see how the teamwork ends up working out. Always interesting when you bring in a couple of new faces to the squad. But let's get right on into the draft. We're going to be taking a look at this one. And it does look like Bane banned on out, as well as the Doom, Winter Wyvern, and the Io. Shadow Fiend is the first pick for complexity on the Dire side into a Tusk Queen of Pain. Whole heck of a lot of burst damage that comes out very swiftly from that DC squad. What are you thinking of these drafts so far? Anything pop out at you or is somewhat surprising to you in terms of picks and bans?
not so far. As long as the Dazzle gets picked up here, that sounds about right. I really like Dazzle with the Shadow Fiend and the Shadow Grave, so we can try and get off the Requiem. But I believe was Dazzle completely passed over in our series this morning, or well, earlier rather. Like I don't think anyone he wasn't picked or banned in either game, right?
No, I don't think he was, which is kind of
Which is
interesting.
really strange. Yeah, a little bit odd there. So maybe I don't know. Maybe he's completely fallen out of favor. He was like prior to the final day that yeah there it is, so prior to the final day of the major it was like 8-0 or something.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, like there was like two full days where Dazzle went undefeated in the major from like day 6 to 8 or something. It was absurd. So Hero definitely extremely strong, a lot of teams really showing off the full potential. And now we move into the next round there.
Yeah, it's somewhat interesting. Like Dazzle Shadow Fiend combo there in terms of being able to keep that Shadow Fiend safe throughout the whole course of the game, but particularly in the early stages is another thing. Like obviously he can TP on in if he's not strapped for cash, stack on up for the Shadow Fiend in the jungle if he needs to. Doesn't necessarily need to stick around the whole time, but is always going to be there in case that gank comes on in. I remember back in 6.83 as well as 6.84 a little bit, there was a lot of stages where we were having either a Dazzle or an Earthshaker sit mid behind the Shadow Fiend, and considering that Earthshaker has much more been pushed off to the offlane role, I feel like now Dazzle has been sort of that complementary support that's always there to make sure that the Shadow Fiend doesn't end up getting shut down in the early stages. And with an AA band out as well as a Lich, it seems like they're somewhat committed to this healing role and not wanting to get torn
Oh
apart
no.
there. So I feel like Ancient Apparition, you've always got to ban it. And it is also worth noting that I think 1437 is some crazy win rate on AA. He was, I think, the most picked hero for him in this most recent patch when he's
Yeah,
playing for
definitely.
Cloud9.
Yeah, for sure. Had a ton of games on the Euro, and okay, they banned the Huskar. That's the point I was just about to get to because they they banned out the AA. They already have the Dazzle. We don't need any Mineski gaming going on here, so DC will play it safe. Take care of that Huskar. None of those shenanigans can be here. Even though they already had the Queen of Pain, first of all, which is one of the better heroes up against it simply because of the Sonic Wave. But let's not go down that path. We'll just generally avoid it.
No, I think that's
Uh,
the
yeah.
proper strategy. You don't want to mess around with Huskar when those things come up because he can just not only does it's sort of one of those things where you can't have the pieces that deal with it, but you kind of have to be there at the proper time because if you throw out a Sonic Wave before he ends up like getting down to that lower spot, then I don't know. It just seems like one of those things that's a little bit too much to deal with. So I like it.
Yeah, now kind of see where they want to go from here. Definitely still have a lot of like the carries left in the pool. Depending on the region, you'll see things like the gyrocopter and stuff like that prioritized. Not so much in the Americas, or really that much at the major, other than the Chinese teams seem to be a little bit more favorable towards them. In general, like we did see the PL come out earlier. The Alchemist is still there and now available thanks to AA being banned out. So they can certainly look towards some sort of a strategy with that. Of course, for DC, they'd have to be running like a safe lane Alec or something. I'm gonna guess this will be a support Tusk. I don't think it'll be like the offlane Tusk
Hmm.
unless they want to maybe play into it later on in the draft if they have to. But they could look to one of those offlane heroes that are still there. Oh,
Interesting.
yeah.
Gonna go for the Undying. Well, honestly, if they wanted to run these both as sort of that 3.5 level squad, then you can kind of do that type of thing if you want as well. Obviously, also, if you just get a couple of levels on the Tusk, he can roam on into the mid lane. And if Dazzle isn't sitting nearby with a Queen of Pain there, there's definitely a possibility for some early aggression, early kills, early ganks going on. Shadowfiend obviously turns into this whirling ball of death and destruction once you get towards that mid game, and particularly in the late game once he gets that Sanji and Yasha and a couple of those other big items that end up popping up there for him. But before that point in the laning phase, no escape, not really a great way to be able to get away from somebody unless you just try and out DPS them, and definitely is a bit of a sitting duck. So I'm curious if they're going to try and roam on in the Tusk, and compLexity are probably going to have to deal with that somehow, although they already have the pieces with the Dazzle there, and now they take on up the Darkseer as well, another hero who's very independent and capable of doing pretty well in the lane. Although that being said, they haven't picked their safe lane yet, so if they wanted to, they could switch this around and maybe run the Queen of Pain in the safe lane and then put somebody else mid to really shut down the Darkseer a little bit more effectively.
Yeah, that's a hero. Swindle's spamming it a lot. At least whenever I see him streaming, he's always playing Darkseer. So something that he's been looking towards, kind of getting more comfortable in the offlane role, as he has been moved over to that kind of recently. So kind of a good comfort hero. Has a lot of partners that are still in the pool. The Night Stalker, the Spirit Breaker are still available, and that Gyrocopter will be picked up from Digital Chaos. It is one of those more classic carries, and those are the kind of things that TC will start to go towards.
Mm.
So I'm not too surprised to see that there for them. And of course, it would have been a nice combination there for compLexity with the vacuum into the call down and everything. But I'd like to see something aggressive here. I'd like to see like a Spirit Breaker. I think would be pretty good in this situation. And honestly, whatever you pick, I don't think you can really pick around something like this Tusk and how unbelievably frustrating that he is for the Snowball being able to save all your allies from stuff. And it looks like they'll go with the aggro and the Bounty Hunter. Darkseer, slap on that Ion Shell and go gank some people with your Orb of Venom. So similar vein there, and I like what they're going to with that.
Well, it's kind of an interesting thing because you think about the dynamic of the Bounty Hunter versus the Spirit Breaker and what the two sides give to you. So Bounty Hunter gives you a little bit more gold acceleration, a little bit more sort of oomph and backup there in terms of the medium mid stages of this game. You're going to be able to get that on up. Of course, Spirit Breaker kind of a little bit more of a team fighty type of hero, you could say. Obviously, both are great at ganking, but with Spirit Breaker, you're able to charge through, about 3 or 4 people potentially if you're able to line it all up right and create a little bit more lockdown versus Bounty Hunter just being straight up about that gold acceleration and power and damage that comes out from a shuriken that bounces around a couple of times. So I think that's kind of the dynamic here that you're looking for compLexity then is trying to get the gold on up on the Shadow Fiend, get Chessie off to a good start. He has sort of consistently been, I feel like, not to say that any of the other players are bad here, but I think that Chessie has been standing pretty tall in terms of how good he is and showing off his skills in these games. And so wanting to make sure that he gets off to a good start and maybe get him a couple of track kills early. I like the way that this ends up looking here for them. And we're going to need to see what DC want to do to deal with this. It seems like it could be a tough road ahead depending upon who they end up pairing with this helicopter here. They do end up banning out that Slardar.
Yeah, that's a little interesting. A Slardar ban, the one position. With Limp being moved over, I believe the statement said that it's going to be Chessie, right, in the mid lane, as you're talking about the Shadow Fiend and everything, and then Limp's going to be playing the safe lane role. I'd be interested to see if they went for something that's a little bit more off the typical path, kind of like a safe lane Wind Ranger or something like that to partner with the Shadow Fiend, something that he might have been playing in that mid lane role. Even the Ember Spirit, that would have been a pretty nice pick for them there. And so this does look like it'll be Yawar's hero, tagged up as Mr. Beethoven here.
Awesome.
Big heroes for him. I guess they're assuming this is. Well, the other thing is, I wonder if they're assuming this is offlane Queen of Pain. A little bit interesting. They went for the Ember ban, and not going to be a Yawar.
I am somewhat curious as well. I think that there is obviously the possibility to do that, and compLexity still needing somebody as well. They ended up banning out the Slardar, thinking that was going to be safe in there. Obviously, they do end up going for the Spirit Breaker last. Very interesting. I think that makes a lot of sense, though. But now you've got 3 melee supports on Digital Chaos? That seems a little bit risky against the Darkseer.
I mean, we had 5 melee lineup win earlier, so do whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah.
Last pick here. This is yeah. I kind of like the Wind Ranger still actually. Other than that, there's like the PL if you are gonna look for this hard carry role. You want to be someone who's a little bit more active. You could look towards possibly the armor. It'll be the PL, yeah. So
Okay. I was gonna say some. Ooh, is this a PL mid? Chessie's taking it. They might have switched on up the roles a little bit now. That was something that I wanted to mention in the draft going into here is that Limp obviously can play both roles as well. So it looks like they're going to be sending the Shadow Fiend into the mid lane with Chessie as the safe lane farmer, and then Swindle's obviously in that 3 position, Z Freak on the bounty hunter, and last but not least, 1437 on the. Oh, excuse me, not 1437. What am I talking about? Handskin on the Dazzle. Let me take this thing on off.
yeah, and yeah, that's right. And so they are kind of planning on swapping out to pick on heroes, and it looks like this will be one of those heroes. I'm just gonna, yeah, so that all looks good then. So, while taking a look then for Digital Chaos coming out first, it is gonna be Yawar, gonna be on the gyrocopter. Now his items suggest he's going to some sort of a dual off lane.
Very
with
interesting.
what he's going on there, unless he's Yawar dodging.
Guys, we told you guys that it was going to be a.
Oh my god,
This is great.
Please.
Ugh.
All right. So we're starting off already. Then Aoi will be on the Spirit Breaker, TC going to be on the Queen of Pain, 1437 going to be on the Undying, and Bulba going to be at bottom lane there with the Tusk.
Yeah. Well, really cool. I am very curious to see how this game ends up going. It looks like there's a lot of very interesting things going on here. They do end up not spotting out this ward as of yet, so ward going to be giving them a good amount of vision, although TC does have the sentry ward in his thing. You know, I'm going to mention this real quickly, that we talked about all of these teams switching players around, switching around roles. I don't know if this is what we're going to end up seeing consistently out of all of these groups and teams, but it is something to keep your eye on, because when there's these groups and new members coming on into a team, things could be in flux for a little bit. It does look like they're just going to trade on off wards, runes right at the very start of this one, and we're going to get underway. What are you hoping to see out of this one? Is there anything that you're really curious about in terms of these teams, whether it's a matchup, whether it's communication, item builds? What's sparking your fancy here in this game?
I typically will look towards kind of how the Shadow Fiend is going to itemize, because that'll determine a lot of how the early game's going to go. It's kind of one of those deciding factors. And when he has the Darkseer, then this has kind of an impact, right? You don't want to end up accidentally going double mech, which was totally intentional, as OG pointed out. And they always wanted a Crimson Guard and Pipe, so they're sticking to their story at least. But ideally, you know, you kind of want to figure out, like, are we going to go S and Y on our Shadow Fiend instead? And he's going to start running at people. And is he going to go for like a Shadow Blade or something clowny like a Yule's? And is Swindle still going to get the mech, or will he go for an early blink? A lot of the strategy will come out in those items.
Yeah, definitely. Well, time will tell what ends up happening. I'm very curious and interested indeed to see where they all end up going, how this ends up working out. In terms of lanes, I think that probably this bot lane here, Bulba needs to be pretty careful on the Tusk, making sure he doesn't end up sort of aggressively snowballing at any point. And Swindle's likewise with Aoi here, just sort of zoning on out this Darkseer a little bit. It could be a bit of a tough lane. It seems like there's kill potential sort of all over the map at this point. With the Orb of Venom up on the Bounty Hunter, you've got, you know, the possibility here to lay on out a good amount of damage from Chessie on the PL. It's all very scary lanes. I think the only one that really is not going to probably find a kill, I would imagine, unless there's some misplays, is here in mid. Well, I don't know. I guess the Queen of Pain's always scary too, but Dazzle's moving on in, so they should be fine.
Yeah, a lot of it just has to do with this early start, like getting the CS up on Limp. Getting towards even a couple of those uphill hits going one way or the other can be a pretty big determining factor in a matchup like this. And if TC chooses the right moment to blink forward, go for the Scream, and stacking on that damage, certainly he can take this, but it looks like Hanskin's going to be playing this one pretty close, as there's a little bit of a wrap-wrap for 1437. They are going to go in here on top of Limp. Looks like he'll be the target. Shadow Strike bringing him down pretty low, and the wave won't be enough to save him. So first blood there, heading over to the stand-in, unofficial.
That's the way you want to start your tenure if you're going to be there long term. Make it happen, boys. So well done there.
Speculation abound.
It does look like Bulba here is going to get chased out of lane a little bit more as well, and going to try and find their way. I think that probably now that we've ended up seeing the Dazzle rotate out of the lane, it's going to be a lot more difficult to find a kill on the Tusk, even though the Dazzle damage isn't really that high, although he is doing a lot with this double damage rune onto TC here in the mid lane. Still, that sort of being able to combo it up with the heal bomb is always something you have to be very careful of. Currently, Darkseer level 3 versus the level 2 of the Spirit Breaker, as well as the 3 levels on the Gyrocopter. So a little bit of an even spread so far. We take a look at experience across the lanes, and DC coming out a little bit ahead, mainly by virtue of that kill there. But still, things very even. You know, one kill isn't going to matter a whole heck of a lot here. It's a lot more going to be about the last hitting and how that ends up working out in these lanes.
Again, 1437, just back in that mid lane. Just like this is just like the series from before, where again you have this bounty hunter who's ends up being in the off lane, kind of playing the supporting role, and then it's going to be your Dazzle sitting mid. You don't have that classic Dazzle PL lane where you'll be able to use the Shadow Wave on top of the Doppelganger for the bonus damage. And here they're coming on the mid lane, so finally, waiting back there, Owie will come in, he gets that nice little bash. Shallow Grave, go for the TP, but yo, 17% PRD. Oh, Owie will pay for it. I don't think... Actually, Hanskin did get the experience from that, so that's pretty nice. Sticking around for that.
Yeah, that was decent.
Still a win. Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, you end up losing your Shadow Fiend there. Definitely come out ahead in terms of DC, but and I guess what we're seeing here is a lot more rotations early. The Spirit Breaker pick allows you to do that, and we aren't really seeing Yawar get punished in the safe or in the off lane on this Gyrocopter. We did end up seeing the Tusk have to go all the way back to base, but that was kind of going to happen regardless, and he hasn't been completely and totally shut down at this point. So I still think that the laning ways, like Darkseer against the Gyrocopter, this seems like an okay matchup for me, and normally where you would want to punish the early rotations, you're not able to do that as much just because of how strong laning these heroes are. It does look like Z-Freak is going to be looking for a courier snipe and actually might get it. This is going to be boots coming out, so not the biggest deal in the world. Bulba's moving on into the side here. I don't know if he actually finds this one. It does look like there might be a little bit of an engagement mid as well, but going to be able to find the courier and snipe it on out there. 1-2 shots, that's nice. A quick kill.
And top lane there, on top Swindles, and he will go down thanks to the charge there, so courier goes down and the Darkseer will pay for it. And it looks like we've seen this a lot, right? So teams like OG and Secret do this all the time where they sack a little bit the carry, like he had some of the off lanes. Again, there's another charge. Looks like we'll be mid. Bulba comes in on top of Limp. He's getting pressured so hard in this lane. He will drop. But like, what kind of a? Yeah, no, I don't think Z-Freak's gonna find anything here. It's nice and low though. Yeah. But like, what kind of rotations can we expect? So Bulba, he's only level 3. Like, he hasn't gotten the full advantage of being in that, you know, solo safe lane. Whereas you have like a Clockwork or Swindles, for example. He's 5, cracking near the halfway point. Got pretty decent CS as far as that goes, up to 20, just behind the Gyrocopter. Whereas Bulba ended up with 2. So definitely not getting the same out of the way this, you know, this whole scenario is going to laning.
Yeah, and you take a look at the net worth right now. PL up on the top of it, but not very far behind him is the rest of the Radiant. I think that, I don't know, it seems to me like they're building themselves into a pretty decent position right now. Queen of Pain is going to be able to get off to a great start here already level 6. You compare that, I mean, honestly, if she wanted to and is at full mana, she could probably... you know, full to 0 the bounty hunter right now and just get a quick kill there. And I guess the flip side of this also is Z-Freak by saying...
Bulba's trying to bait this.
Oh no. Do we also have the Undying coming in? We do. It doesn't look like he's going to be sticking around. Oh, Chessie's going to be here a little bit. Doppelganger, can it come out in time? No, does end up getting stunned on up now. They do have a lot of damage on top of Bulba. He needs to get out of here. Chessie does end up dropping out the Doppelganger. We also have Hanskin in the area as well, so that's going to be a heal. Just like that, they're staying alive. The Tusk ends up going down in the end, and they thought that it was a gank. Don't call it a comeback. compLexity doing what they need to do.
Yeah, that Shadow Wave damage. Now they're right on top of Owie with the Spirit Lance. He'll charge out, heading towards that Roshan pit, but won't be too close to the bash, thankfully. Yeah, and he will survive.
Very interesting start to this game. 400 gold swing. I'm just not sure. Like, I think that if you look at these lineups, do you think that DC are sort of in this position where they're going to be able to sort of fight very effectively before compLexity get their early items up? I feel like if you get that mech up on the Darkseer, or maybe a Blink Dagger or something, like, they're just going to be able to roll over them at some point.
Yeah, Yawar has come down bottom now too, so this bottom lane just was a disaster. Like, you compare it to what Swindle was able to achieve up top, and he's level 7 now, and then his counterpart Bulba is level 4. And he couldn't go anywhere near the wave, so he is sitting at 6 CS now compared to the 35 on Swindle. And that's a massive change. Like, compared between the two teams, everyone else is kind of like chilling around the same level, but there is a massive drop off when it comes to that off lane role. And luckily, I mean, he is a Tusk. Like, we see this guy played in the 5th position sometimes, so it's not a total disaster. But if compLexity can look to apply a lot of pressure right now. They can certainly take advantage of the better items they're going to have, try and push as a team, and maybe unfortunate they only have Chess. He's getting dove into the tower, and not like a more fighting carry early. I don't know. I guess he can fight pretty well using the Shadow Wave.
Yeah. Well, Bulba might get jumped on here a little bit. We do have the Bounty Hunter back behind him, and level 4 currently. There's a chance that they could dive behind this, but looking like they don't want to take that chance. We do have several heroes for DC moving on over towards the mid lane now. Bounty Rune up for the Bounty Hunter if he wants to be able to pick that one up, but across the board, just looking somewhat passive now. I'm a little bit used to the early fighting that we saw in the last series, and with this smoke, maybe they find a kill over here on Hanskin, but it's not going to be that Shadow Fiend. Actually, now that I'm saying that, he is walking on into the room, so might be able to find him in a second or two.
Yeah, they're going to assume he's up doing the stacks, try and come find him up there. I'm sure they have maybe some wards. Oh, they didn't bring any. It's a little unfortunate. Generally, around this time period is when you want to be putting down the wards and try and get an idea, especially up against a Shadow Fiend, of what stacks are being done. Like, they see the camps done and cleared out, so they know he was around, but he makes it to the safety of the tower. Yeah. And now they really won't get much out of this. Like, Chessie comes up top. Everyone knows exactly where they are.
Yeah. That was a lot committed. I think Limp there, just Spidey senses tingling, not seeing anybody on the map, you sort of realize, all right, there's probably somebody around me. Maybe it was him, maybe it was one of his other teammates that ended up calling out, but in any case, they aren't going to be able to find him. Although we do still have Owie hanging out over here to the side, and he's going to be by the camp. I don't think he can solo him, though. He's only level 3 versus the level 7. Just waiting for somebody else to show and maybe charge in from behind enemy lines. That might be
probably wouldn't go too well, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Limp is definitely starting to catch back up now. 4th in terms of net worth, despite the fact that he didn't do the best in lane, dying a couple of times, currently 0-3. So that's pretty significant. The fact that he's been able to get 4th in net worth, despite the fact that he died 3 times in lane, that's really good.
Yeah, and Yawar, he's 3rd on the list. Not feeling too bad. He's got Z-Free kind of chilling in behind him, and the Ion Shell presence from Swindles. Is Hanskin, he's actually going to be able to leech 6 in mid. But I'm wondering what Yawar looks to go for. Like, does he go for this S and Y kind of a build? Does he feel like there'll be under enough pressure? Does he think he can get a helm and try and get some stacks off? Or I'm not sure with how the other team's itemizing. Like, complexity's only ahead. It's not even 1,000 gold. And actually, he's going to run right into Swindles with a full Ion Shell, and he's just dead.
Oh, wow. That is not the way that you want to have that happen. A little bit unfortunate there. The Gyrocopter wasn't able to. Did he buy out at least? No, I don't think he bought out either. So kind of unfortunate there. Aquila was up, but not going to be able to be enough to keep him alive there. And just walking uphill into not having vision. I guess maybe thought that the enemy team was somewhere else, obviously. But TC mid lane does have on up the DD Rune as well as Sonic Wave. Tombstone has been committed at this point. Hanskin is going to get jumped on as well as Limp. They drop on down the Snowball. Walrus Punch committed as well as the Shards. That was a grave used on Hanskin. Sonic Wave going to be able to kill on off that Shadow Fiend. Nicely done there, and TC is just going to back on off as they take on down the tower. It does look like Swindles is in the area. Well, they're going to run on into him. Don't have a Sonic Wave at this point in time, but if they wanted, they can throw out a few more spells. They do get off a Scream of Pain, vacuum back into 3 of them, but no wall committed. That was already down in the bottom lane. A double kill for TC, exactly how they want to have that one happen. Yeah,
now he's in there deep and manages to clean off Hanskin, but he'll go down for it. And that does also give a little bit of track gold back over. They threw that off from the Bounty Hunter, so a little bit of a bonus there. But no, a very good fight for DC. So they were struggling a bit, looked like they were behind, but took an excellent fight in mid. Nothing really left there in the tank for Swindles, as he did use it for the gank on Yawar. And it got a nice vacuum, but nothing to follow up. And that's probably going to throw them, right into the lead, about 500 gold in terms of the net worth. That'll help get some items going here. And
so when I was
the travel actually done for Chessie. Anyway, continue.
when I was struggling to sort of speak words out of my face, what I was trying to say there was that I felt like DC sort of had this advantage for at least a couple of minutes before they got their big items up. And Swindles, still about 400 gold away from finishing off his mechanism. You take a look, Shadow Fiend hasn't really picked anything up at this point, but the combination of Tusk being up there as well as having Spirit Breaker who can charge in and Undying, this is a very aggressive early lineup that can fight without a whole lot of items. But once you start to get a couple of these other items up, I'm a little bit concerned about DC's ability to sort of survive. Oh god, did they get the vacuum? Oh, Owie ends up getting that canceled off. He's going to end up going down here, I do believe. Yeah, with Limp in the area as well, he's definitely going down. So nice catch there. But
track gold.
If they're able to take advantage of this and maybe take a couple of team fights before those next few items come up, then maybe DC are able to continue to build on this slight lead they've built. Although, of course, with Spirit Breaker going down, that's not necessarily the best way for that to start out.
Yeah, PL is, like, he's picked up the Boots of Travel, so he's going to be looking to probably get into some engagement. Oh, Lim's going to get the wind up.
Ready.
This still doesn't show, right? Yeah.
Oh, he misses the last raise. Not going to be able to get it. Now they're jumping in on top of Limp. He's going to go down. Chessie looks to be falling. Also, they're turning this one back around here, but they do end up going down in the end. So close. Bulba just barely surviving, as well as TC. That's about as best you could hope for a Requiem starting on top of your Queen of Pain. And really good reaction timing there by TC to get out of that one. They do also have the Bounty Hunter in the area, able to burst on down Bulba real quickly. Now they find out Z-Freak. He's going to fall as well. Wanted to take out TC, but not going to be able to do it. Handskin dropping low.
Oh, the
I think
body
that they've
blocks.
got him as well. Body blocks for days. Owie 2000, so solid. And at the end of the day, they get a tier 2 tower as well as 4 quick kills. And that's what I was talking about. You don't have those early items up. Mechanism just now completed for the Darkseer. And it was it's tough because it was a good initiation, but at the same time, there wasn't a ton of follow-up. So it's kind of back and forth as to whether or not that should have been a good team fight for compLexity.
Yeah, I guess you just really can't underestimate how powerful Undying is going to be in these really early engagements. Like, you think about going into the later phases of the game, how annoying Tombstone is. Well, it's already level 4 at 12 minutes, so you're getting a ton of that utility right now. Yeah. And they didn't have the full lineup of compLexity there. I mean, Swindles wasn't there for the fight. He was trying to finish up the mech, so there's no vacuum wall play. Limp, unfortunately, like, he goes for the huge play on the Requiem, and that would have made the fight just so good for them, right? Because there's no Queen of Pain, and we just, wipe the floor with the rest of you, but couldn't quite get it off, and the reinitiation was just a little bit too much for them. Right now, what I look towards is the Phantom Lancer. He's got the Boots of Travel. He's got the drums. He's playing Ember Spirit right now. But it's a little bit interesting, right? Because you want to be involved in the fights, but you're also, like, a little bit squishy. It definitely has a high, like, error probability. Like, if you mess up, it's a pretty big risk.
Totally. Yeah, and it does look like they're going to be able to maybe wrap around this gyrocopter here. We do have Z-Freak in the area. He's going to be able to get off a couple of slows here. That's a lot of burst damage coming out very quickly. The call down does get committed, and that's going to keep Yoar alive at least for a few minutes here. Blink forward, they end up finding Z-Freak. There's this Dust end up getting popped as well. He is going to go down, I do believe. Hanskin gets the grave off, but the Requiem of Souls comes out. Tombstone still committed for this one. It ends up falling. This could be a really bad fight for TC if they're not going to be able to get enough burst out. There's going to be a quick kill. Chessie dropping low, as is Yoar. Can they finally kill him off? Jump forward again. The stick charges, keeping him alive a little bit longer. There's going to be the Walrus Punch. The charge in. Limp ends up falling. The Death Requiem is going to finish off the Tusk now. Z-Freak bursting on through 1437. They see him alive! Oh, TC, huge plays right there, and another nice team fight there committed by DC.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just so much catch, I guess, with the blinking on TC as well as the charge from Owie. You had this mass rotation to stop this humongous dive into the middle of the tier 2, and they kind of stuck around at the tier 1 like, oh, we can fight this, it'll be fine. But even the mech wasn't enough to heal them. Hans can get picked off a little bit too early in the engagement, so we didn't have those continuous shadow waves coming out. And just really well played so far by DC. Like, they're responding very well. Those TPs were almost instantaneous.
Yeah. No, totally. They were right on top of it. And it seems like they're communicating really effectively here, which I think was one of the things that people were somewhat criticizing the team of before. And I don't know what that is exactly. Maybe it's just a little bit more experience playing together totally, but it seems to be working so far. So they have a lead of about 1,000 gold. Experience is about the same. Again, because they do have that Bounty Hunter up, though, they need to be careful in this. Like, you can't necessarily push it super late game, particularly with the Shadow Fiend and the Phantom Lancer there. They don't really have super explosive cores beyond the Gyrocopter. I mean, Queen of Pain versus the Shadow Fiend late game, I kind of prioritize and feel like Shadow Fiend's going to be in a better position depending upon the itemization. And I don't know, I think that they need to keep up the pressure basically, and would love to see that from them. We do have a 3-man smoke on into the Radiant Jungle. Z-Freak, Swindles, and Handskin all in the area, and they might be able to find out the Undying here, but I don't know if that's the person they want to jump on. With no tier 1 tower though, they still can't do a lot of damage. Yor ends up getting a little bit of a lick from the Ion Shell, and it does look like over here Bounty Hunter might be in a little bit of trouble. We have the gem on the Undying, remember, so... Oh wait, no, that ended up getting taken off of him. Where'd the gem go?
I don't even know.
Oh, Queen of Pain
was
has
there
it.
gem? Oh, there he is. Okay, yeah. It's like doubting myself for a second there, but he does have the dust, so if they do spot out a little bit of Ion Shell damage, or, Z-Freak manages to screw up something here, it looks like they're going to try something possibly.
Oh, the TP on in. They're all going to be here. Call down is going to get committed onto 4. Oh, God, the vacuum wall is going to be pretty big, though. Swindles gets bursted before he's able to do it, but there's going to be the shallow grave coming in, and everybody from DC is starting to fall. It doesn't look good. 1437 goes down. Bulba as well after one last raise from Limp, and just like that, because they weren't able to be there in time with the TP rotations, Tier 1 tower already fallen. compLexity take a little bit of a lead there in a 5-on-3. Huge fight for them.
Yeah, the boots of travel completely paying off there. Able to get right into that fight and just good positioning by compLexity. Like a little bit maybe unfortunate that Owie's so far away in terms of like I don't think they had vision of him. I don't think he was active in the lane, but TC was active top, and you know, they know he can't respond that quickly because it was relatively far from the tier 2, and it was a really good opportunity that they were able to jump on. That's going to bring this back a lot. In fact, it's now actually there's just that one fight back in their favor. Yeah, track so good, experience and gold. In fact, it's more in their favor than it ever has been for DC.
Jeez, that is a huge swing right there. I guess it's just because everybody was around in that area. It does look like we're going to have a BKB picked up on the Shadow Fiend as well. And now I almost feel like DC need to wait a little while before they end up trying to take their next fight. Maybe the next set of items does look like Undyne's picking on up the Arcane Boots. Mechanism is finished on Tusk, so they can probably fight here. What else? Gyrocopter, Helm of the Dominator, Queen of Pain, the Orchid can definitely help, but I think probably who would you prioritize in these engagements? Dazzle or maybe the Darkseer?
I think if he spots out Swindles, he's going to prioritize getting the Orchid on him just so that they can kind of fight for some duration without having to worry about the vac wall, simply because there's no surprise right now. Like the Blink Dagger's not done. You don't have to like Orchid him and then he disappears in the fog and suddenly he vac walls again. You'll be able to keep tabs on him. Ideally, though, I think it's the Dazzle is the big play, unless you think you can like completely burst down the Darkseer. It's a lot more reliable to go for Hanskin.
Okay.
Try and bring him down, especially if you can do it right before a tower siege. That would be massive. It could even secure Roshan at this point.
They're in a pretty good spot. I mean, despite the fact they just lost that team fight, it doesn't feel like any team has a significant hold on this game, or it's going to go one way or the other without some very... Well, that item actually can completely and totally turn this around. The Fusel Blade just picked up now on the PL, and almost as if they feel sort of the deep sadness in their hearts, they're just going to back on out from the Fusel Blade up. It's terrifying. They didn't see it, but I don't know. One of those items that fills you with dread.
Yeah, it's very akin to like the Bat Rider Blink Dagger. In fact, most heroes Blink Dagger, something like that, especially when you have a Boots of Travel. Like, I wouldn't even want to show myself right now if I'm Chessie. I want my team to find a fight. In fact, they might even smoke up here. They are under a ward though, so they should watch out for that, but it looks like they're bringing the courier for a smoke, and they see the positioning. It's like that is what you do when you're going to smoke, because they want Chessie to come in for a fight right now with that Diffusal Blade and just completely destroy DC.
Yeah. Well, they should realize it now. Several pings coming in. Actually, if they're able to find this fight, though, DC are the ones that smoke on up, and they're going to be trying to see if they can find a pickoff here on maybe the Bounty Hunter. They are going to have the gem on up, waiting for their opportunity. They're going to actually wrap around the other way. All right, 5-man smoke into 5-man smoke. We'll see what ends up happening here. A little bit scary. Everybody vacuum walled into it, but the snowball keeping people alive a little bit longer. Sonic Wave strangely only caught onto Limp, it looked like. There's the call down on top of everybody. Nobody dead yet in this engagement. What is happening? Bounty Hunter takes out the Undyne. He does look like he's going to be trying to chase down his Queen of Pain. Not able to find that kill. Gyrocopter took out the Shadow Fiend at the start of this fight as well. It's looking like DC might be the ones that come out on top. No, never mind. Gyrocopter does fall. Chessie's still doing a lot of damage with this Diffusal Blade. Bulba up to the other side. He gets taken out by Chessie now as well.
Oh no,
and
the mana!
DC's gonna go down. Can he stay alive any longer? It does look like Owie's trying to find the kill. Isn't gonna be able to get it though. And just like that, a quick triple kill. Chessie on a roll. They do have the gem down on the ground as well. Now up on Handskin, and everything looking good for compLexity after that fight.
Oh, that started off so poorly. The vacuum, and then Swindles got stunned up and couldn't get down the wall in time, but it works out in the end. Chessie, man, that Diffusal Blade is just so strong right now. It looks like 1437 is going to be feeling the pain of that as well. Even tries to wand up, but that won't do you any good.
Oh my god. That was a very, very quick turnaround right there. Dazzle's going to be going for the Glimmer Cape at this point. He can do pretty much whatever he wants. He had so much money after that fight, as does the PL. Just picked on up that Diffusal Blade, and now sitting at 2,400 gold on hand. Like, he has 1,100 net worth. This is the point where he starts to get really, really unassailable, and you need something... I don't know, do you think that this is a game where the Queen of Pain needs to end up going for Aghanim Scepter, or is it a little bit too late for that to be super effective?
Well, with how over the moon Chessie is right now, because he just bought Diffusal and he has 3k gold, I think they actually do need the Aghanim simply to both burst him down, but also to completely eliminate the illusions, because they need to get like the Orchid on top of him. I guess it doesn't matter anymore because now he's a Diffusal Blade. But they need to get some lockdown on top of him, like even if it's just a charge into another strike. He is definitely the key target right now, and prioritizing that as the main point. Secret gets just caught out while they're farming the jungle. You know, it's a bounty hunter. He dies. It's
Good
a thing.
catch there. It's kind of lucky too. This Sentry Ward was about to despawn in another 5 seconds right here, so they ended up catching him as he was walking on through the jungle. And it's a nice kill. 1,000 gold going back their direction isn't anything to sneeze at. So it looks like instead Queen of Pain might be going for the Shiva's Guard this time around. I actually like this one a lot too. Being able to slow down that attack speed of all the illusions as well as the real PL himself is going to mean less illusions, a lot less DPS. As well as giving the nice armor there on top of Queen of Pain. The thing I worry about again is sort of maybe BKB might have been a bit of an option there. It looks like we're probably going to have to see TC rely a lot more upon his just sort of general positioning to not get caught out by the PL. Because if PL ever gets on top of him, Chessie's just going to tear him apart.
I don't think they're going to get into the pit. Alright, they smoke now. And this was smoked in here by the Dire side, so they aren't aware. Oh, they didn't even know, I don't think.
Okay, this is awkward. Tombstone gets dropped down. There's the snowball forward. Limp is dropping pretty low, but does end up getting off the BKB. Oh, Shallow Grave keeping him alive. Shadow Fiend. Oh, they're actually turning this back around here. Looking a little bit scary. Limp ends up taking out the Queen of Pain. I thought it was going to be better than this. It looked good for a couple of minutes with the Bounty Hunter being down as well as the Dazzle, but just like that, another 3 heroes dead for DC. And I'm not sure exactly what it is. Is it just... How do you think this game has been turned around this quickly by compLexity?
Well, Chessie just destroyed that tomb, first of all.
Yeah.
Like, he is one of the better counters because the illusions just annihilating the tombstone. They started like getting these pushes and they were kind of making an impact, but I really haven't felt much from the gyrocopter. Like the call downs and everything. I mean, he's your most farmed hero, but it doesn't seem to be doing all that much in the fight simply because of the grave. Like every time Limp just gets saved, Limp hides for a second, and he's healed back up to full.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely something to consider there. And also the other thing that I was just thinking about was that one team fight. Like, when you have the Bounty Hunter on your side, one big team fight can really turn around the... Oh my god, Owie dropping so low. He ends up going down. Oh, that's unfortunate. And that team fight that ended up happening near where the tier 1 is for Radiant on the safe lane, considering they weren't able to like sort of continue their advantage, they weren't able to sort of build off of it a little bit further. We just saw those big items get picked up by compLexity, the mechanism, the sustainability, the clutch graves. I do have to say that I think this Dazzle, Handskin's been playing this absolutely superbly, saving that Shadow Fiend every single time right when he's about to go down, and you can't really ask for a whole lot more out of a Dazzle than that.
Yeah, like what do they even do against this? They don't have Sonic Wave for 30 seconds. I don't even think they can stop this. I think this Rax is just completely forfeit.
Alright, well, War is here. They do end up using the call down. BKB has popped those able to break that off. Not going to be able to get the Requiem as of yet. There's going to be the big vacuum wall, though. Not quite enough damage. Nobody's still dead for TC. Bulba is dropping so low, though. Look at Chessie just tear him apart. TC's starting to drop pretty low as well, and it looks like they're just going to turn around, start banging on these melee racks, range racks, which should be falling in a second or two. The biggest problem they've got right now is that they're going to have to go back for tier 2s before they go any further, and oh man,
definitely the least of your worries at 26 minutes. It's just like, oh, we have to get those other towers.
Oh
shoot.
And Chessie just gets out of that one. They are going to be... He actually TP'd back to the other creep wave. A little bit of mind games there. Owie a little bit too far forward. That was a really good play by Chessie. And now it looks like they're going to be able to take on out the Spirit Breaker. Oh, nice blink away there by TC before he ends up getting taken out. Nice vacuum wall on back, but it's not going to be enough really follow-up damage there. And Chessie thinking about popping his Aegis at this point. Sanj and Yasha now up on the Shadow Fiend as well. That is brought to him by virtue of the Courier. And looking like they're going to keep on going for this one. Just real happy to do it.
Man, this just turned into like a dumpstering. Like, look at the graph. Chess is just sitting here sold an Aegis, throwing lanes. Okay, no time for graphs. I guess the call down will come down. It's gonna burst that Aegis, and Limp's stuck inside the ice shards, but he's trying to survive there. Snowball gonna come in. He is once again graved up though, looking for it. Just get these raises off. No Requiem available this time. Oh, the big vacuum there from Swindle. So now TC's blinking away, but Chessie wants it.
God, it's just so much damage really quickly. Look at all the zombies too now. I mean, that's the one nice side here, but every single time the zombies end up spawning up, they can just turn onto it with the PL illusions, and everybody from DC tracked, everybody from DC starting to get their mana taken, and it looks like finally, at least for a couple of seconds here, compLexity is going to back on up. 600 gold swing at the end of that little engagement, but the big thing to keep in mind right now, let's take a look at these graphs. 20,000 net worth. This is a huge turnaround. You take a look at what they were at earlier, 20 minutes. It was about 3,000 gold lead. Now we're sitting at 8 minutes later, that's about 20k. Just huge turnaround there, mainly by virtue, I would say, of good team fights and being able to combo that up with the bounty hunter. And it's worth noting, they're actually double the net worth over the experience in terms of their lead. They have 20...
and look at the kills. They only have 3 more kills. In fact, the last, I believe it's 10 kills in a row have been for compLexity, with none for DC.
Yeah, that's a pretty
like,
nice
they just flipped the
there.
switch and we're like, hey, you guys want to go win? Like, yeah, all right. Like, let's go. Chessie, buy some items, would you?
Oh my god.
I mean, it's so rare that you see this insane of a turnaround, and there's no better hero on your team like to provide this, obviously, than the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And at least now there will be that Blink Dagger here from Bulba, and that will provide you with all the big saves. But when you're already Iraq's down, and it's basically just going to be like, if you can save everyone from the 5-man vacuum, like in the wall, and just get them the hell out of there, that might make it worth it. But I don't think he's going to be getting any solo picks this game.
I will say, bigger throws have happened before. This game is certainly not over. And one of the main ways that they've been able to stand these games is, I think, the really solid play by this Dazzle. He has just been getting every single grave that he's needed. Obviously, of course, the farming's been solid. The team fight that they've taken, being able to back out when it's the proper moment. All of these things have been really, really great in combination. But it seemed to me like he's been one of the key components of them being able to sustain in the fights and also get off those key spells before they finally do get taken out. And if he's, for whatever reason, picked off at the start of the fight, he could be in a bit of a problem. He does have the Glimmer Cape and the Force Staff also, so it'll be hard to pick him off, but there's a possibility there.
Yeah, now it's time to batter down this tower. I don't know, like, do they have the heroes for the comeback? I suppose they do. Well, you've got the Queen of Pain, you know, you got the Sonic Wave, you got the Call Down. There's a little bit of Wombo combo. Somehow you have to get through all of Chessie's, though, and there's a Greaves. It's not going to be easy.
It's certainly not going to be easy. Shadow Fiend has a DD up right now as well. Should be wearing... Well, no, it just got popped, so it's going to be here for a little while. And honestly, they can just keep on throwing out these tracks. They can keep on throwing out those Spirit Lances. That way the mana ends up getting drained. It's just a pain in the butt to have to fight against this type of lineup here. And currently, compLexity not really wanting to sort of push their advantage too much. They don't want to throw this all away for nothing. Maybe waiting for the next set of items here. I mean, you did just get the Sanj and Yasha up on the PL, so probably looking to be able to end it relatively soon. Like, if you're going for super late game, that's probably not the item you would be taking.
No, they just want to get Aegis, maybe buy like a Vlad's or something on probably Z-Freak. Probably just, he might get Blink at this point, honestly. He has the gold, but just grab like one more item, just like the SNY you're talking about. Like, that's not late game, that's just like, all right, we're ready to end the game. So they'll probably just look for the Aegis, unless they get a really good pick off, and then just go to try and put this one to bed. They will spot out Z-Freak underneath the Sentry Ward, so they'll go down.
Quick kill, always good to have that happen. I don't.
Oh, he didn't buy out.
I don't think it's going to be enough for them to be able to secure Roche. It is a relatively... Well, we'll see how long the Roche timer is in a second or two here. But it does look like at least there's the possibility there that if it's a really short one, they can maybe come and contest this. Do you think there's any possibility for them to contest it? As I'm saying, I'm looking at the 20k net worth lead for the PL.
I think at the the biggest high point they have is the fact that they have a creep in there. So they're going to know when Roshan spawns.
All right.
And they have the Undying Tomb. They can get up on the high ground. Now, the problem is you're going to have to deal with the Weave, right? So you can get the vision of the high ground, and then everyone can take down the Tombstone.
Yeah, that's a bit tough. Not necessarily what you want to have happen. Gyrocopter is building... Oh, yeah, Roche really
it's an instant spawn.
Oh, man. That's pretty decent. That's pretty good.
It's like the smallest spawn I've ever seen.
3 seconds. Yawar looks to be building towards a Rapier, so maybe that's the comeback. And I will say that PL didn't end up going for a Butterfly, which would have definitely secured them a very strong possibility of winning this one. Aoi is just going to charge away, trying to get away over to that creep wave, and should be able to make his way out of here. So the damage is still going to be felt. If he wanted to, he could come close to being able to pick on up a crit here, but I think that this is probably Rapier time. I don't see any other option really for them.
Rapier Gaming, I suppose. Yeah, we haven't talked about that. There really is no other option. Like, just rapier gaming gear for Yawar, and just hope.
Like, they don't have the great defensive support like the Dazzle to make sure that he gets off all of those flat cannon shots. The closest thing they have to it is the save that comes out by the Tusk. Like, the pieces are somewhat there, but it's still a big ask, I think. And it does look like at this point we're going to see compLexity probably move on into the Roche Pit. This is going to secure out a little bit more farm here for Uar. If he's able to get this up, I see a chance for a comeback, but it's really all or nothing at this point, and everything has to go perfectly.
Yeah, but right now, DC are just not in the position to be able to defend this. They'll be dead. Yeah, there's no way. So that means there's not going to be any sort of a rapier hopes or dreams for the gyro. I mean, it's highly unlikely or rather Aegis to go with his rapier. It's highly unlikely it was going to happen in the first place, but now it's definitely guaranteed. But we're ready now, though. Rapier Gaming is live and prepared. He just clean up this one camp, and he can go pick it up.
Yep. Does have that TP as well to get himself on back to base. That being said, with this ward here, I feel like they're going to know what's going on. He's trying to stay away from it, but that's the rapier, and I think that they saw
he's
it.
Walking right under the ward, too.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. So they realize what's going on at this point. Scotty, now the item for the PL. Currently sitting at 1800 HP, but again, you never know. Peanut butter rapier time.
Yeah, he didn't get pinged, so they might not know. They definitely had the vision of him, but no one was like immediately, gyro rapier, abandoned ship. Is he hiding it? This is a pretty classic thing where they'll. No, he's actually gonna hold on to it. Oh, because he didn't pick it up with the courier, right? So he can't.
He can drop it, but it's not activatable for the rest of his team, I think is the way that works, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure
I don't know. They changed it since I started playing, and then I get all confused. So I just know that once you drop it once and the enemy picks it up, that's like it. It's like a fair game rapier forever. That's the only one I know.
Does look like they have complete and total vision here. That observer ward pan off for DC, and unfortunately not going to be able to deward that one before this next big engagement goes down. So everybody get in position. We have the Alpha Wolf creep that's here as well. The worst thing that could happen right now in this engagement is if Uar ends up getting vacuumed outside of the base and then gets taken down very quickly. If that happens, that's pretty much GG, although already, just look at these illusions. Dole out that damage here in the mid. Chessie's moving forward. Again, he can just be a tanky monster in the middle of everything with the Aegis up there. And Uar just doing everything that he possibly can, but he needs to be so careful. If he gets just even a little bit too far out of position, he is going to get bursted on down here. Now, it looks like at the same time you're having the split push game come on out from the Dark Seer. Charge committed right there, so it's down for another 7 seconds, but should still be fine. Actually, each of them have... Did he steal the Alpha Wolf? Is that what he did right there? That's pretty awesome. So now he crits. That's a pretty cool play. All right, Rapier, he's got the crit. He deals 500 damage roughly. Actually, almost 600 damage at this point in time. What do you think you're looking for right now if you're compLexity?
A mistake from DC. Okay. Just let them, just keep chipping away at these range racks, and you can see they're getting damage on the melees. And just wait. Bait out Chessie. You have plenty of time left on this Aegis. He can just kind of sit there and wait for them to commit on top of him.
Trying to bait out as much as they can as well. There's the jump forward. TC getting very low. Needs to blink out of there before things start to go awry. Does end up doppelganging back now. We do have a lot of damage that can come out. Tombstone has now been committed. There's going to be the snowball backwards. DC doing a lot of damage to Limp, but not going to be able to be quite enough. Vacuum wall as well. Still Uar stands. He's doing as much as he can, but there's the burst. Just look at him fall. Queen of Pain ends up taking out the Dazzle, but GG ends up getting called as DC dropped the first game. Chessie, godlike on a triple kill there, and doing everything he needs to do. Pax, what are you expecting to see here in Game 2 in just a couple of minutes?
Well, I don't really know. Maybe a Bounty Hunter ban is the one that sticks. I just can't believe how much this game got turned around. Everything looked like it was going okay. Probably a range support. Maybe DC might be feeling like they didn't. What happened with Bulba down there? I don't know. The laning. Let's focus more on the lanes during the draft. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because there was just nothing going on with that Tusk. They didn't make any sort of a change that could allow Bulba to do anything, and he ends up being a 6 CS at 9-minute Tusk who was supposed to be a core.
Well, that's going to do it for Game 1 at least. Going to be moving on into this next one. DC hoping to come back in Game 2 with a whole bunch of new people on both of the squads. Definitely very interesting game so far, and we'll see how this ends up going. Should be another one.